With that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Right.
Everybody now has an opportunity to pull up their chair and have a seat.
Over the past year, Cheryl has consistently criticized Caitlin Clark with unfounded statements, claiming she's too experienced for the league, undermining her rookie season, and suggesting that her teammates aren't eager to play alongside her. The negativity appeared relentless.
Some of your peers, they will recognize, her game, but they won't recognize her impact.
Right.
How can you separate the two? It's kind of hard, right?
And I used to, Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies.
Then Cheryl Miller joined the discussion. The basketball icon and former coach of Clark made her stance clear on the All the Smoke podcast, addressing Swoopes' comments and dispelling the inaccurate narratives. Miller didn't hold back, and her strong defense of Caitlin Clark signals a promising future for the Indiana Fever, leaving fans more eager than ever. Want the full story? Let's dive in.
Two-time player of the year, two-time national championship, two-time tournament MVP, first woman to dunk in an organized game, gold medalist. Thank you for making time. Welcome to the show, Cheryl Miller.
Before we dive into everything Miller discussed, have you ever wondered why a basketball legend seems so set on undermining the WNBA's most promising new talent? Let's take a closer look at Sheryl Swoopes' ongoing criticism of Caitlin Clark, from her college years to her rookie season.
We'll talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them. But you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old.
It all started with Swoopes making highly inaccurate claims about Clark's college career. One of her most far-fetched assertions, that Clark was 25 years old, competing against 20-year-olds at Iowa. In reality, Clark was 22 and in her fourth year, just like many other college seniors. When challenged on the false statement, Swoopes backtracked, attributing it to exaggerated claims influenced by COVID-related eligibility rules. An explanation that didn't quite add up.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
I know you like that.
Yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
But Swoopes was just getting started. She went on to claim that Clark took 40 shots per game, painting her as a selfish volume shooter. The reality? Clark averaged 22.7 shots per game. The irony here is striking. Swoopes herself averaged 19.2 shots per game during her senior year, just 3 fewer than Clark. Talk about throwing stones from a glass house. And when Clark was closing in on the all-time NCAA scoring record, Swoopes changed tactics, questioning the legitimacy of the achievement by suggesting Clark needed a 5th year to break.
Ask me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
This was completely untrue. Clark broke the record in 4 years, just like other players. Swoopes overlooked the fact that Clark could have taken a 5th year due to COVID eligibility, but chose to enter the WNBA instead. Swoopes predicted Clark wouldn't succeed in the league, but as Clark set rookie assist records and proved herself as one of the top playmakers, Swoopes went quiet. Clark finished her rookie season averaging 19.2 points and 8.4 assists per game, earning Rookie of the Year honors and silencing the critic.
I didn't say she wouldn't be good. What I said was I didn't think Caitlin or Angel would come into the league and dominate immediately, which I don't think either of them did.
Respectfully, there is absolutely no way, even when we're trying to sit here and play semantics about dominating, there's no way that anyone could ever leave this season in saying that both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese didn't dominate. You would have to further explain what dominance means for you to not sit here and say that a player who is leading the league in assists while averaging 19 to 20 points didn't dominate that.
One of the most revealing moments occurred during Swoopes' appearance on Angel Reese's podcast, where she continued to undermine Clark while claiming she had no problem with her. A clear example of saying one thing and doing another.
Cheryl, since she was in college, I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Cheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that there was this quote by Cheryl that said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, however old, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate.
The basketball world quickly took note of this pattern, and eventually, Swoopes was removed from broadcasting a Fever game. She was replaced by Nancy Lieberman, who didn't hold back in calling out the misinformation surrounding the rookie sensation.
The treadmill, and I called her as a friend and I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston. I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone, and I was like, Cheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship, it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life.
The basketball world had been waiting for someone with real credibility to step into the Caitlin Clark conversation. That moment came when Cheryl Miller entered the All the Smoke podcast studio and put an end to the critics. What happens when a true basketball legend, who's actually coached Clark, decides she's had enough of the nonsense? You get one of the most authentic and powerful defenses women's basketball has ever seen.
Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies. Is she getting hyped? Yes. Yeah. But she was in the backyard. She was putting in the same time, sometimes maybe more than you were.
Right.
I can't fault her for what she was given.
Miller didn't just support Clark casually. She brought the fire and precision only a legend of her caliber could. Her now viral remark aimed at critics like Swoopes said it all in just 2 words. Come on, you big dummies. The studio erupted, but Miller was far from finished. She passionately defended Clark's work ethic, speaking from personal experience. This wasn't just another pundit defending Clark. This was Cheryl Miller, one of the greatest to ever play the game, calling out the hypocrisy surrounding the young star. And she pointed out something the critics conveniently overlooked.
Look, as much as she was given, you can't tell me if that door would have swung the other way where she didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
Come on, folks are still waiting for her to fall.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
You recently coached the WNBA All-Star game. You spent some time with Caitlin Clark.
Best coaching job ever.
Best coaching job
Best coaching job ever.
Being around Caitlin Clark, how was the experience for her? She's such a big star. I mean, the sky's the limit for her. To be around her, just talk about the type of person she is, how much she loves the game.
I'm going to be honest because it needs to be said. I can relate to that young lady, and I felt for her. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be a black woman and hated because of my skin. I can't imagine this young lady, I don't want to use hate, but despised. Mm-hmm. And people just having, she brought some on herself a little bit because she's cocky for a good reason.
Mm-hmm. Confident.
And I love that about her. But to watch the dynamics and the media, they had their narrative. And I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't watching her pass. And I didn't know how talented she was and how well she sees the game in a 3D version, thinker. Mm-hmm. Defensively, a lot better than I thought and gave her credit for. So watching her and just spending a little time. And one thing, guys, that I've learned is to step back and let these kids be themselves. She was getting hit with everything left and right, and I just said, I hugged her. I said, I'm so proud of you. I go, savor this, use this as a formula. I said, but keep being you. I said, no matter what, keep being you. It's a crown that she's wearing right now.
Right.
And it wasn't something that she anointed herself. It's something that's been placed on her head. And I hope people understand that. But it's everything that she's dealing with. And I gave her the biggest hug that I could. And when she saw me, she's like, oh man, finally somebody I see that's on my side.
Right. They can relate.
The one thing that I said to her, and she was heading into her senior year, was have fun. No matter all the static, just make sure you find that quiet place.